Hey, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly get-together. We talk about the past weeks in gaming news. I am your host, as always, Stephen Brown. Joining me today are Sean Brown and David Smith. Say hey, gentlemen.
Hello.
David is
You
busy
didn't,
taking a drink of his fine craft beer there. We're going to... If you're joining us live, thank you, as always. Feel free to participate in chat down below. If you're watching us on YouTube, also feel free to leave a comment. We always appreciate it. We're going to recap some of the things that happened last week during E3. You might hear us talk about some things we mentioned real quick. Some stuff might not. We're just going to get a little more in depth to it because so much information came out on last Monday's show. We really couldn't touch on all the topics.
There was way too much shit to talk about on Monday. Monday was way too big.
Yeah, we just kind of went through it real fast, and it still took us 2 hours to get through it all. But first, we're going to start off. I know last week we said we were going to talk about Square's and Nintendo's conferences, but honestly, we don't really need to touch the Square conference at all because most of their good stuff came out during the Sony one. And, well, as for the Nintendo one, I can really only say this about it.
I would like to point out that
so much time trying to know that.
It was just a letdown. I could see why some people might be excited for it, but honestly, I just can't deal with you, Nintendo. I can't even.
Did you really just like say that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about you right now.
I can't.
Anyway, let's talk
Nintendo.
about the bullshitty nonsense that's coming out of Nintendo.
All right. Well, let's start first with what everyone wanted to hear was that there's a new Metroid game coming.
Yeah,
and
dude, I love Metroid.
We got this weird-ass Metroid Prime Federation Force, which is
not a Metroid game.
Co-op shooter crossed with Metroid Sports Ball that doesn't even have Samus Aran in it.
Sports ball.
Sports Ball.
Dude, they could have called it Sports Ball.
They could have. They didn't.
So never in my life have I been so mad at prediction right.
Technically, you said something with Metroid there, and they gave us this. In fact, people are so pissed off about it, they put up a change.org petition to cancel it, which is fucking stupid, by the way. They have every right to. They have every right to release this game, and it's just shy of 20,000 people supporting it. Get a fucking life. Come on now.
Well, no, the stupid part is not the fact that they made the petition. It's that they made it to say they need to completely cancel this game.
That's stupid.
If you want to have a fucking petition because you're upset that this isn't a proper Metroid title, then how about let's have a campaign to drop Metroid from the title?
Yeah,
call it Federation Force.
Or how about not even get so wrapped up to do a campaign on it and just not buy the fucking game?
There you go.
That's what I was thinking about, because this was like the event of Nintendo showing off games that look cool. There's some cool things to them, but named popular series they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, this should be something else. It should be trying to cash in on the Metroid franchise.
Yeah, because they have the Metroid thing where like this game actually looks pretty cool if it was like, you know, just take out the Metroid. I'm like, you know what? I'd probably buy that game. I'd probably play it with my friends. That game actually looks pretty cool. And it's like they announced Star Fox Zero too. And this game looks like a cool game. It looks like a fun little Wii game.
Well, I have some footage on Star Fox Zero. Let me bring this up while you're talking about it.
Yeah, but they branded it as Star Fox.
Ooh. Sorry about that, guys. It looks like Nintendo won't let us show any footage on that. That's shitty.
Yeah.
You're welcome, actually. So Nintendo's actually doing you favors, making it so we can't show you their game footage.
But yeah, you know, the thing about Star Fox Zero is it looked cool, but it still looked dated for what I expect. I don't need like a dramatic graphical overhaul in Star Fox, but I want it to look better than it did on the Nintendo 64.
Man, we are going so hard on Nintendo these days.
and
we have been for a while, to be fair.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that Star Fox Zero too. We all know that whenever you have to fucking get on the ground in your R-Wing or get out of your R-Wing, the gameplay fucking sucks. That game is about the flying. And not most of that trailer, but a good chunk of that trailer was I'm in this fucking chicken walker or I'm a tank again. No, I always hated that.
I disagree. I like doing the tank stuff.
I'm just saying, from the trailer, there's not a whole lot of just R-Wing nonsense. But there was one main takeaway that I had from the trailer that actually really pissed me off.
What is that?
And I feel like it's a weird thing, and it could just be me, but I feel it was just a really heavy-handed appeal to the nostalgia crowd. And that's at the end of the fucking trailer. You hear dual barrel roll.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That pissed me off because
I'm tired of
nothing to do with the contract. It doesn't add anything, and it's literally just, hey guys, remember this funny joke that you've been saying for the last 20 years? You know, when we made Star Fox.
Also, do we need a prequel covering the events that have already happened, that they've already done at least twice already?
My problem is, like, it's not a rail shooter. Star Fox has always been a really good type of rail shooter. You're going forward. It's not an open world game. There are some stages, like the Temple stage, like the whole Independence Day stage, where you fight the evil fox, which was awesome, by the way, because it was a one-off.
Starwolf.
Yeah. And his crew. It was like misfits. It was like the badger, the platypus. But like, it's a rail shooter that you could go in several paths on and build your story from there. Like the whole open world thing, just kind of, it's not the same game. Like Nintendo's releasing a series of games using old titles to get people to buy them to advertise new games. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
They're trying to bake it on the title.
In fact, that seems to be their running theme through this conference. Now, I'm not going to dismiss Star Fox Zero entirely. I need to know more about it before I just say fuck off like I did with Metroid Prime Federation Force. But it's just that it's like you said, Sean. They keep trying to attach all these names to franchises. Like, no, I don't want. Well, you love Star Wars, then how about Star Wars Ewoks? That fucking shitty ass show in the 80s. No, I want more Star Wars. I don't want a spin-off. I don't want a side story. I want more of what I love. And I don't need any of this stuff on top.
Let's talk about the thing that Nintendo did right, and they totally listened to me, and they finally announced the new Zelda. Oh,
wait.
Right. No,
they
fucked up Zelda 2.
What was it? Zelda Triforce of Heroes, Heroes of the Triforce.
Triforce Heroes?
I didn't put the name down there, but I got video of that too. Let me bring that up real quick.
Here's the Storm, Zelda Edition.
There ain't nothing you can do about it either. Man, they're getting kind of blunt in those warning letters, aren't they?
That's pretty harsh.
That's harsh. I wish I could show it to you, but Nintendo.
Thanks,
man.
Nintendo.
You know what I don't want in my Zeldas though? I don't want to have to find 2 friends to fucking play it.
Well, that's the best part. Is like a mandatory 3-player game.
Yeah,
like looking through it, it's like in order to solve these puzzles, you need 3 people high because that's all you do is you stack
If it's not
links.
mandatory, then you're going to have to fucking be switching between 2 other people, and I don't want to do that either.
You know what that does to a game like that? So Zelda's always been a hero-based game. Now you got 2 other bitches that are just as cool as you are. Like that takes away from like Link being a badass.
Well, keep in mind there was like 4 Swords Adventures, and it's not like
one off for a
game. Yeah, and that was stupid as well. I hated that.
Yeah, it's not like this is the first time they've done it. It's just frustrating that in this time where supposedly there was supposed to be, a new Zelda coming out, a Wii U Zelda game that everyone's been waiting for and really wants to see. And everyone was hoping for a new Metroid. Everyone was hoping for Star Fox. And they delivered none of it.
No. Not only that, but the last big title that they announced, besides Xenoblade Chronicles X, which looks amazing, but I'm not buying a Wii U for. But the last big storied franchise thing they announced was an Animal Crossing game that's fucking Mario Party. Now, I'm not an Animal Crossing fan.
Infringing on their own concept.
Like, I own it.
If you want to make a Mario Party game, make Mario Party 11, for fuck's sake. But instead, they give us this Animal Crossing game, which I'm going to bring up here as well. Oh, God, Nintendo, you're just getting fucking harsh. Go fuck yourself? Man. Nintendo's gotten salty in its old age.
I feel like this is an episode of South Park. Go for yourself.
There is one major thing, though, that we have to talk about Animal Crossing, this new fake Mario Party Animal Crossing, is that it's not even as good as Mario Party. You can't just sit down with all your friends and start playing it. Because it's Animal Crossing Amiibo Party.
Yes, you have to have
in order to play the game, you have to have an amiibo to play with. Required.
It's horrible.
So have your friends bring over your toys.
I want to talk about something happy.
Oh, we could talk about something happy. We could talk about that Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing. That was announced at Sony's press conference, which took like the big gem out of Square's donut when that happened.
That was actually super funny because Square's conference was so lackluster because they're like, check out all this stuff that was announced yesterday. We have nothing else. Please leave.
I need a jelly donut count, and every time it happens, I'm gonna hold up a sign to hold up fingers on how many times Steven said it on the show.
But yeah,
you get a ticker
this Final Fantasy VII remake, I am excited for it. It looks good. But we have a couple bits that have come out after that Sony conference. One, Tetsuya Nomura's directing it. He's the brainchild behind a lot of the Final Fantasies. And he said in a quote recently at a group interview during E3 that possible remakes of more than Final Fantasies might be coming. To quote him, "Considering that we have remakes of Final Fantasy up to 4, and then we have 7, I've been working with Mr. Kitase since Final Fantasy V, and we've noticed that 5 and 6 are missing. That bothers me." Ooh. To which I have to immediately go, God, yes, remake 6 for me. And not in the cheapy DS way you did 4, but in this badass way you're doing 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that noise you heard was my dick hitting the table.
Don't get me wrong. I get the excitement for 7, but 6 for me would be way more of a big deal.
The story is far more epic.
Here's the thing.
Far more epic.
It's also
when you talk
a better game.
Yes.
When you talk to people about this game, about Final Fantasy in general, there's 3 things I really get, or like really 2. So you get the people who are like aren't fans of the Final Fantasy series as a series, but love RPGs, and they're like 7. I want to see 7 remade. And then you get the people who are fans of Final Fantasy, like us, who are like easily 6 is the best one, hands down. And few of us say 5. So 5 and 6 are considered like the best 2 games of the series when you're talking to people who really enjoy all the Final Fantasy games who were offended by the later ones. So like, it's nice that they're doing the overall one with 7 because that's the one that deserves it. Let's be honest. Like, I want 6 to happen. 7 is the one
that brought Final Fantasy into the mainstream.
7 is the one that brought
RPGs big before, but 7
to the
is what
mainstream.
made 7 is what really blew people away. Like people who
it's also them printing money.
Yeah, like people don't realize the effect 7 had on the West. People who are like, sports fans, like playing games like, Madden like 95 or whatever, they played Final Fantasy 7. That's what made
it was a broad mass appeal. Whatever.
So I understand it, but like people like me, I want to see 6 remade. I want to see 5 remade. I want to see Chrono Trigger remade, which...
Yeah, that's not going to happen. There's the DS version, but it's not really remade.
So, okay. Here's the bad side about Final Fantasy VII being remade, and like I was like, yes, right when I saw it, because now I'm like, we always did the whole like they're not going to do remake 7 because Square hates money. Well, if they're going to remake 7, who knows? Sky's the limit again. Like I have hope again, and I'm not going to get it.
Hope is the first step toward disappointment.
I do have one worry with 7.
Yes,
and it's this game is going to sell gangbusters.
Yes, it will be a full $60 game at that too. Just due to fan excitement and reading anywhere on the internet, people are just nuts over this. So much so, in fact, before you go on, let me bring this up real quick because it kind of ties into that excitement factor. That Bloomberg reported that Square Enix holding company shares jumped to their highest level in more than 6 years after this was announced. Almost immediately.
I was actually wanting to bring that up, yeah.
But what I'm worried about is as weird as this sounds, what it's going to do to the industry. So,
such as
if you hold with me for a second, so
we'll just see remakes over and over again.
Exactly where I'm going with this. So 7's going to come out. It's going to sell like gangbusters. People are going to be like, wait, there's this huge nostalgia thing, and it's been going on for a while. And this to me is it kind of coming to a head. Is 7's finally happening, and there's been this whole retro games thing, and there's all the indie games that look retro. People are realizing, hey, the money's in older stuff, and they're going to start digging through properties and digging through old IPs and just re-releasing games. And it could lead to some really awesome stuff. We could get some really awesome games remade.
Let me cut you off right there real quick. Because it could do like a whole Disney Vault thing where every generation we get a remake of an awesome game. So like it's kind of, it could work out 2 different ways. Because like if this does well, like Squaresoft, I can see Squaresoft because they're kind of like the Disney of fucking video games, honestly. They actually work with Disney. They could be like, you know what? Let's release one of our popular games every 10 years. And we'll redo it if this does well.
David?
Like, I think that would be cool.
That could definitely be cool, but I'm less concerned with Square, and I'm more concerned with everybody else.
Well, fuck everyone else.
My stance on
we hate everyone else anyways.
My stance on is this. The reason why you've seen so many of these remasters and remakes come out so recently is because, 1, they're very cheap to do, and 2, the market is demanding it. People go nuts over this. That Resident Evil remake sold very well on PC, which is why they're redoing 0 now.
Yeah.
So I get your. I don't want them.
I'm just hesitant. I don't want to like throw all of my support behind this whole concept, Like, it's still cool, but I'm just worried. I don't want to be.
I get that old game is old, and that we want new stuff and we want new IPs. But you kind of have to listen to the market. If a lot of people want this, then there's no harm in making it. And if that's what Square turns into it.
But like I was about to say too, it doesn't take away from new games either. Like this one will, because this one's by far the biggest leap of any remake we've seen probably in recent history, like going from that kind of graphics to what it is now. But like the Resident Evil remakes, they have some pretty good source material to go off of, and like it doesn't take a lot of manpower to do so on these older games just to make them look pretty again, because they already have everything in place. So it's not like they're putting full teams onto this. This one they probably will, because it's a
massive undertaking. I am George in chat says he disagrees. If he wants to say why he disagrees, we can definitely address that if he wants to continue the conversation there.
I will say this real quick before we switch topics. And sorry, like this is going on a little bit, but the one thing I hope they don't do is change anything in the game. Like, don't change the material system. Like, you can add on stuff like they did with Final Fantasy IV when they did like the extra moon quest and stuff. That's fine, but like, don't change the material system. Don't change the combat system at all. Like, keep it the same exact game. Just update the graphics, update the gameplay.
Well, that's where some contention is going to come in, because more or less Nomura came out and said, quote, "I can't share too much for now, but it won't be a simple remake." They are going to change a lot. I don't know exactly what they're going to change.
Story.
That might include story. I don't know how they're going to get. I'm sure the big stuff is still going to be there.
Well, no, because I know they're doing work on the story, so I'm pretty positive things are going to change. I mean, if it's just translations changing and the meaning of things changing, that's one thing. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be like an overhaul. This is 7 in theme, in general tone, but it could be just a brand new game.
My gut tells me it's going to be like the Resident Evil remake back on GameCube, where you have the same plot points, but it's changed dramatically. And I am George more or less in chat saying the same thing. They need to change everything, especially the combat system. And he is correct on that, because that combat system is fucking garbage.
I was going to say this. Now, if they do change it, they need to go like complete the opposite direction. And actually, Resident Evil is a good thing, because that game felt like the original. It felt like original Resident Evil. Like, you had the same kind of villains to it, but like the addition of Lisa Trevor and the game style itself was really cool. Crimson Heads and whatnot like actually changed the game a lot, but made it feel exactly the same.
It took a classic and changed it for the better, and that's what we have to hope happens here.
Now, I'm okay with that if that happens, but it's going to be one or the other. Like, you either don't change anything at all, or you change it to the point where it feels the same. You have the same love for the characters. Like, don't change characters' personalities at all. Because in Resident Evil, they were both the same. Like, Chris and Jill were very identical from the first ones.
They kept the base and put a nice coat on there and added some cool stuff on it. Now, we're not going to know any of this stuff until 2017 at the minimum, is my guess. There's no official release date for it, but there's no way this is next year at all. Also, something to keep in mind, it's not Sony exclusive. It's first on PlayStation 4.
Yes.
There's also one more thing, is that before we had this announcement, it's already been confirmed that the international version of Final Fantasy VII is getting re-released.
Yes, they are. It's going to be on the PSN in August.
So if you think if you want to play 7 again, that game's already coming out.
Yes,
and that game's going to be identical to 7, just the international version.
Yeah,
so
that will hit the PSN in August, I believe. Yeah, and it's going to be the one that's on PCs right now on Steam. So,
talking about old games.
Talking about old games.
Big fan bases.
Who the hell expected a new Shenmue coming up?
I did not, but I'm so excited for it.
Now, we talked about this very briefly last week when it was announced. Shenmue came out on the Sony press conference and had themselves a Kickstarter. As you can see, they are already at 35. I'm going to kill that. They're $3.5 million already. It's ridiculous how much money. They broke Kickstarter when it came out. Hi, I'm George. As far as thoughts on Battlefront goes, we talked about that last week. Hopefully we'll get to it again this week. We'll see how it goes. But Shenmue 3. What do you guys think about that? I know that we kind of were surprised with it coming out, but I want to kind of take a look at how we feel about it being presented at the Sony conference as a Kickstarter.
Okay, then that's definitely a different conversation, because, I mean, obviously I'm excited for Shenmue. I really like Shenmue. But the whole I'm a Kickstarter and I'm in the Sony press conference, it was a weird advertisement.
I agree.
Is the simplest way to put it. But if they hadn't done it that specific way, I do not believe it would get as much support as it's getting right now. Because it made stupid money instantly.
Yeah, and I also dismissed the argument because a lot of people are going, this takes away from small indie Kickstarters. I dismissed that argument completely out of hand because whenever a big game hits Kickstarter, there's a noticeable uptick in everything else on Kickstarter. Kickstarter themselves have actually come out and said that. They've shown the numbers that show, like when Bloodstain came out and made a shit ton of money a couple weeks ago, a lot of other stuff had a big spike up in Kickstarter funds.
It's because always you have everybody going to Kickstarter, they back something and they're like, well, what else? What the hell else is here? Let's go
exactly. So
there's no logical argument against it. Actually, like I want to hear what these arguments are against it.
Well, here's where it gets a little bit shady because they said they needed $2 million to make this game. Keep in mind the previous Shenmues back in 10, 15 years ago, or maybe even 20.
The first one on Dreamcast
had budgets of $50 million.
1999.
And now they're asking for $2 million here. And it sounds like all this was to gauge fan interest, and then Sony would come in and develop the rest of it. So I have a few questions.
Now, that's not necessarily the case, though.
No, they've come out and said that.
Well, it's aware that they were gauging fan input and everything to see how well it can go. But Yu Suzuki actually had a Reddit AMA recently. Okay. And in it, he announced that in order for him to make the game that he wants, to have it truly open world, to have as many cities and as much interaction as he wants, he needs to get $10 million in funding.
Yes, but he said that after he already promised people a game for $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
That
as soon as they hit 2, he changed it. He's got tons of stretch goals.
That falls into that Tim Schafer bullshit where he promises something and then goes, but I need some more money.
He didn't promise it, though, originally. He actually didn't bring that up until afterwards.
He promised to make Shenmue 3 for $2 million.
He promised to make a Shenmue 3 for $2 million.
He's saying to make a Shenmue 3 for $2 million. Not the one he wanted.
Come out and say it out the gate. That doesn't sit right with me. But here's the bigger question. If you wouldn't have gotten that $2 million, then what happens? Because it sounds like he needs more than $10 million because Sony's backing the rest of it. So
it wouldn't have been at a Sony it wouldn't have been at a Sony conference if Sony wasn't going to help him out either way. So
no, from what I understand, the conversation went like this. They got together with the head of third-party production and Yu Suzuki got together and they went, okay, I want to make Shenmue 3. And Sony was saying, keep in mind, I'm paraphrasing here, of course, and this is just based on what I've read. Sony came out and said, okay, we need to gauge fan interest on it. Put a Kickstarter for $2 million. If we hit that, we'll pick up the slack.
Yeah, we'll see. Regardless, I'm very excited.
I think my problem with it all is just the lack of transparency out the gate.
That's fair, and I mean you have plenty of reason to not like Kickstarter and not like people on Kickstarter, but at the moment I'm still in Suzuki's corner. I'm really excited about this. Plus,
yeah, I don't want to take this away from fans.
Perfect time to say that there's a game that is coming out. It was originally a Sega game, where they're actually listening to fans and making a new one. This isn't a re-release of Shenmue.
Yeah, I'm definitely not taking this away from fans. I get the love for this franchise. I'm absolutely happy that they're making a third one.
And this isn't Shenmue Fighting Force, so
no, it's not.
For us.
It's actually, honest to God, Shenmue 3 that's going to continue the story. Though I did also read somewhere else that he needs like another 5 games to finish the story after this.
That's
it's
fair.
Like, dude, you need to fucking finish this up now because it took you how long to get Shenmue 3 out?
Although now is a good time for me to throw out a slight variation of our favorite line. Sony does what Nintendo don't.
Give fans what they want. One thing that we were talking about earlier are all these remakes, and we're worried about remakes and remasters. One thing that I thought was a fucking lock was Mass Effect trilogy getting remastered. But it's the one thing that's not getting touched on, apparently. Speaking with Game Informer, Patrick Sunderland, who is a big EA guy, came out and said, I won't lie and say we haven't looked at it, but for us, it's about weighing where we want to spend our resources. Is it better for them to be working on a completely new IP, which BioWare is, or should they be remastering a Mass Effect? End quote. And that kind of touches on what your concern was there, David. Do they put the resources on a remaster, or do they put it on a new IP? Now, my shock is, of all the companies out there that would do a remaster, I would expect EA to be the one doing it. And of all the game trilogies out there that need a remaster, I would say Mass Effect's one, because the first one is just so archaic at this point. It's rough to go back through and play with.
I was about to say I would say the first one's really the only one that needs to be remastered though, because the second, third one still hold up. Like I actually just watched a playthrough of the second one, and I was like, damn, this game still looks pretty good.
I agree with that as well. But if you're remastering the first one, you might as well take the second, and third one, add in all the DLC that they had, and just bundle it all together for $60.
You could polish them, but I don't think it needs like a massive rehaul.
Yeah, you can do an high def, an HD resolution of both those, and even on the first one, honestly, maybe change a few things, but. Like I said, of all the remasters, I thought this was just a pure lock, but apparently not. Now, when asked if it was still in discussion, Sutherland declined to comment, which means it is still in discussion. It's just not at the front of the table right now.
And I can't really think of an EA game that's been remastered recently, unless you guys like. I'm sure there is. I just can't think of anything. Is there anything off the top of your head?
No,
I really can't think of one.
Think about it. I can't think of one either. David?
No, I got nothing.
If anyone, they're the only they're not.
Maybe they don't do them. Maybe I'm just kind of thinking too hard about EA here.
Yeah,
but
they're living their own dreams. They're doing what they want. They're just gonna keep.
Remaster seems more of a an Eastern thing, and like Microsoft is getting into it now with Halo, but that's really about it from what I can remember.
I'm just shocked. I thought this was a lock. I thought that we are going to get this because Mass Effect 4 is so far away that it makes sense to have it.
Well, if we're talking about remasters, now's the perfect time to fix Advent Rising.
If Advent Rising actually sold any, I'd be down for that.
Right?
No joke. I loved Advent Rising despite all of its issues, but there's just no way that is ever getting touched on again. Ever. That's a very dead franchise. Would sooner get a new Breakdown.
I'm down, dude. Breakdown 2 or Breakdown the remake. Because either or.
The Re-Breakening.
Dude, I was going to say a Breakening joke.
Sean. You've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm, which we were talking about earlier. Sounds a lot like Heart of the Swarm.
Yep.
Which, of course, all being Blizzard properties, and, well, we love ourselves some StarCraft.
Yeah.
That was almost a segue.
That was almost a segue. I had something better planned, and it didn't quite go anywhere in it. But at the PC Gaming Show, which was the final conference on Tuesday, which was, if you watched it,
hilarious.
Try better next year, guys. I appreciate.
Dude, I honestly wanted that show to be Gavin walking on stage, just going, "It's not coming out," and dropping the microphone and walking off.
It's I love the way they did it. I love the setup for it. I love the whole Conan O'Brien look to it. But it lasted 3 fucking hours, and it was just boring all to hell. But one of the things they did announce was that Blizzard is going to be releasing a StarCraft Legacy of the Void pre-campaign for the game comes out called Whispers of Oblivion.
Which I'm excited for.
Now, get the hype train started on this because I absolutely... This has the volume going. Give me 1 second. We'll kill the volume on that. I absolutely love the StarCraft single-player stuff. I don't do the multiplayer myself, but it's worth the price of admission just for the campaign. And I'm down to get a 3-mission prequel build-up to it. It's going to revolve around Zeratul. It's going to be free for everyone that owns the Heart of the Swarm, apparently. And we'll get more info in July.
And, as you all know, maybe know, Zeratul is my favorite character in the Blizzard universe.
Yeah, and this is going to be
all
focused
games.
around him. Of course, he's probably going to die by the end of it.
Dude, so that's... Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure he will, and I'm pretty sure he's going to die. Okay, so another prediction. Pretty sure he's going to die sacrificing himself to save Kerrigan.
No, that's not at all going to happen. They're going to fucking Call of Duty you. Kerrigan's going to sacrifice himself for Zeratul.
And everyone else is going to live? No, because that means everyone else will die and Kerrigan and Zeratul would live if they're going to Call of Duty me.
Yeah, I get the distinct feeling that he'll die by the end of this prologue mission because Artanis is the leader of the Protoss now, it seems. And the campaign
is... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it seems like the campaign revolves around him flying around in that massive mothership.
Zeratul's never been the head of the Protoss.
No, I didn't say Zeratul was the head of Protoss. I said Artanis is the head of the Protoss now. So Zeratul being... Zeratul isn't needed for the plot, as it were.
He never really was. Like, he was always just like his own self and like a badass.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's like he does. Like, I mean, that's. I think that's irrelevant to if he's gonna live or die or not. But I think he's gonna. I think he'll die. I don't think he'll die that soon. I think he'll because you don't kill off your stallion before the race starts.
Although I'm wondering one thing: is he gonna find the Keymaster?
That's Gozer, you dick. Not Zeratul. I don't even know how you made that conclusion.
There is no Dana, only Zul.
Only Zul, Zeratul. Ah, okay.
There you go.
Still not quite good enough. I expect more from you, David.
Zeratul. Yeah.
But yeah, Heart of the Swarm, PCs only, of course, and PCs seem to be where everything's going these days. All these console exclusives that we keep hearing about also have PC counterparts coming about. You have No Man's Sky coming out on PC. Gears of War Ultimate has been announced for PC. I am damn convinced that Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be on PC real close to the release date, which is why Microsoft's so coy about that console exclusive bullshit.
Metal Gear Solid 5
PC
is PC a week after, 2 weeks after.
Yep.
Are we done with exclusives on consoles besides unless they're made by first parties?
Yes, and even then, it's Sony. Because Microsoft is like, if it's on Xbox, it's going to be on PC now, pretty much.
Gears of War is a first-party studio.
You have to think about it this way. With the basis that the consoles have, with the amount of people that own each console, back in the day, you'd have exclusive to sell consoles, but that's not really enough at this point. It just really isn't. A lot of times it comes down to...
They're media players now.
And when you have companies that are making these AAA games that they're spending a shit ton of money to build, it's a lot easier to take a little bit of money up front and still release it on both systems, where you're going to make way more money than if you had just released it on one system.
Yeah, we're seeing this day and age where consoles are no longer just for gaming. Like, there's no reason why, like, and computers are getting pretty inexpensive these days where you can buy them. You can get a gaming computer for $600, and with the Steam machines coming out, and it's about the same for the lower end ones. But, like, consoles are becoming more media player based, like home
line between
theaters.
a home console and a PC is getting very thin.
Yeah, well, I mean,
especially with all the current consoles built on PC architecture in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like so you're seeing a lot of stuff like Xboxes and even Sony now, going more along to these, like, we're gonna be able to play like all your media stuff. Like, we're gonna specialize in like Netflix and being able to control all your devices in one location, which is convenient. And then like I know even Sony is starting to do the TV channels a la carte.
Which was
we'll
another
next. Yeah.
huge
That's how you segue into that.
Well, I wasn't quite done with this topic, but we'll go ahead and move on to that since we've already broached it. That is
Sony
the wrong
TV.
direction.
Get your TV on your Sony.
Sony, yeah.
Welcome to the internet.
They announced very briefly, it was like less than a 30-second hit, that, hey, we might start doing channels a la carte, which is the fucking holy grail.
That is not a 30-second hit. That is like the biggest of deals.
Yeah, they only took 30 seconds to mention it during their conference.
Just like Final Fantasy VII.
They hit it real quick and they said, hey, this is coming. Now, when you take a look at it, there's a reason why they want to mention it real quick, because if you take a look at their a blog here on the PlayStation blog, they only have 3 channels right now, and it's Showtime, Fox Soccer Plus, and Makima.
Shenmue?
So, who cares on that, right? But
okay.
The a la carte TV is the holy grail of TV viewing.
Yeah, and there's a company that already does this called Sling TV. I kind of brought it up last week that a lot of people don't know about.
How you doing, Princess Epicness? Or Pure Epicness, not Princess Epicness. Sorry.
What a
nope,
dick.
your new name's Princess Epicness.
This right now is mediocre as far as what it's offering. I was hoping more out the gate. But this, if they can actually get off the ground running on this, this is bigger than I think anyone realizes. If it can materialize into something.
Yeah,
had no idea why.
That can actually be a huge deal. Just because I haven't had cable in 8 years, 8 or 9 years at this point, because there's no reason for it. I don't want it. But if I could actually just have the channels I want, then that's a whole nother thing. And honestly, spending the $400 or $500 on a Sony console as opposed to the hundreds of dollars on cable TV, not a bad deal.
Well, all right. So, give me an estimate of how much you spend on cable right now.
I don't spend any on cable right now.
On average, back when I was paying for cable,
Internet.
It was about $80.
Okay. Well,
I dropped that, and I now just get Hulu and Netflix.
Okay. So, I mean, my family still uses cable. It's about $100 a month for like all the packaging. Dude, imagine if you can drop that down to 30 just for internet, which you can, and then pay like $4 a month for the channels you watch. I only really watch 3 channels. It's ESPN, Comedy Central, and it's like TNT every now and
then.
then.
Yeah, same here. I watch Comedy Central, Fox News, and Cartoon Network.
Yeah, adults. Yeah, so there's 3. So that's really all I watch. And then, because I work home theater and computers and stuff, so you can buy an antenna that gets you local channels so you can watch your sports games, which you can get like Fox, ABC, NBC, and all the big ones that have like the Super Bowls on them too. $50, one flat fee, never to pay for it again.
I think what you're getting at is that you can just pick the few channels that you want and pay like a quarter of what you're paying for everything else. Because no one actually, well, let me phrase that. A lot of people don't watch most of what's thrown in this package. That's why they package it together to jack the price up.
Yeah, because most TV is pure garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in general. Just nothing on. 400 channels, nothing on has been a joke for the last 30 years.
Yeah. Dude, okay, so I kind of want to bring this up too, and they'll drag you along too, because like what they'll do is, so like we just got HBO for free, and they're like, we're doing a special package. It starts on Monday, this day, and I realized, I was like, holy shit. This is funny because that's the day after Game of Thrones ended.
Oh yeah, that's on purpose.
Like, yeah, that's not coincidence.
No, it's all marketing. But yeah, what was a 30-second throwaway line at the Sony conference, I think has potential to growing into something a lot more important. Now, it's nothing right now. Don't get too hard and excited about it at the moment. But 6 months from now, a year from now, I'd really like to see what the service offers later on. My gut is it's going to kind of crash and burn. Because
I don't think so.
They don't have anything really. Who cares about Showtime? Who cares about Makima?
The thing is
the soccer thing might be big overseas.
What matters is the deals they've made that we don't know about, or the deals they're in talks with making.
That's what I want to see come out. That's
what's going to come out in the first 2 or 3 waves of this will be very telling for its future.
They have to wait for certain things to follow the contract. HBO being one of them, because Apple owns the rights to them for 6 months.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know Apple had HBO Go exclusive.
Yes, Apple has HBO Go exclusive for the first 6 months. So when that falls off, you can see HBO and other stuff. I could have
sworn there was an Xbox One HBO Go app.
Although keep in mind that you're not
maybe Microsoft and Apple actually play really well together these days. So like it's actually not shocking for that to happen when it comes to Apple products playing on Microsoft stuff.
David, you were saying?
I was going to say the main thing to remember though with you and the ESPN is you're not going to get ESPN by itself.
No, you're going to
you're going to have to get the package because ESPN is, I'm pretty sure, actively suing Verizon for selling ESPN channels a la carte through one of their services.
So they already offer them through Sling TV, though, as what I was talking about earlier.
Through the Ocho.
I mean, you have to get ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN Classic, which I'd get anyways. Most people who watch ESPN would. But Sling TV already has those options, which I know they're not getting sued because they're part of I just know they're not.
I mean, if there's a core series of channels that you're already looking for, that makes sense. But I was just saying that I'd really doubt you'd be able to get like ESPN on its own.
Well, we'll find out. Like I said, right now it's a little too early to really get into it. I'm just excited for the potential behind it, and we'll see where it winds up in another 6 months to a year. Moving on to the next topic. There's no clean way to segue.
Potential.
More potential.
More potential coming out of a company that did a bunch of interesting stuff but didn't get announced at their own conference.
2015, the year of potential.
There's a new Hitman coming, as we all know.
There is a new Hitman coming. You guys like Hitman?
I love Hitman. I think it's a fantastic series.
For someone who's never played a single Hitman game in my life, I like Hitman.
Now, speaking with VideoGamer.com, studio head, iOS Interactive studio head Hannah Seifert, I apologize for mispronouncing that name, said, quote, "We think it's wrong to approach players like that because players want to be that..." Let me start over because I actually didn't set this quote up first.
You should go ahead and give some backstory. Let's tell you a quote, but not tell you what it's about.
Essentially, they came out and said there's going to be no DLC for the new Hitman and no microtransactions for the new Hitman.
Which is genius.
The studio head said, quote, "We think it's wrong to approach players like that because players want to be part of that experience, but they don't necessarily want to be ripped off. What we're going to sell is all of that, but it's for a one-price package. Essentially, when you buy the game for $60, you're getting the game and everything else they might release later for that game.
You're buying the whole game.
Yeah, you don't need a season
$60.
pass. You don't need any extra DLC add-on stuff. Now, conversely, what it sounds like, though, is that they're going to sell Hitman, and it's not going to be a full game at start, though. They're going to add the stuff in later, it sounds like. And it's going to be, from if you infer all the bits and pieces here, it sounds like it's going to release as digital only until the last bit of content comes out, and then they'll package it as a disc.
When they're done with it, they'll release a disc?
Yes.
That makes sense. Especially if you're going to have to push out updates like this.
Yeah, video games finally entering the realm of music industry.
So yeah, I want to say this is kind of like a console version of early access almost, where it's like, hey, here's the first 5 missions. You can buy it right now for $60, and we're going to keep every day or 2 or week or 2, we're going to add a new mission until the game's final story mission is released, and then we're going to sell it on disc for $60. I don't know how well that's going to work, but it's an interesting idea.
Well, there's one main thing that you're always talking about, and that's transparency.
Yes.
And how you like companies actually doing some honest shit. This seems to be kind of an appeal to, I'm assuming, a large number of people that are in your exact mindset of just sick of getting nickel and dimed, sick of this fucking day one DLC, sick of on-disc DLC, and all this other nonsense paywall bullshit. So the idea of, I'm going to pay $60 and get the new Hitman game, and I'm getting all the new Hitman game for $60.
Yes, I'm so down for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Don't. Now we'll have to find out if they hold true to it, though. That's the big thing. But if they go $60 will get you everything we ever do for the new Hitman, I'm down for it. Give it to me.
I'm still not going to pre-order it, though.
No, never pre-order it. Though this could also solve the problem of trading in games too. I don't know if I like getting only half the game at first and then the rest of it released later, because that's when you take a look at it, that sounds like what they're doing with it. Here's half the game now, and we'll leak out a couple extra story missions every week or 2. And it's
the only downside is,
but it's all digital anyways.
With everyone waiting for the full version to come out, I almost guarantee that if this game doesn't sell for shit initially, there's not really going to be any content for it, so there's nothing going to be buy later.
No, they'll do one final mission to wrap up the story, and that's it.
Yep.
It's interesting. We have to keep an eye on how they're going to market this game, because I'm very intrigued to see where they go with it, because it sounds like the marketing for it, how they're going to release it, it's unlike a lot of what I've seen so far. So it's a new take on it, and it might be finally that happy medium of, I don't want to spend another $20, $40 for DLC, but the company doesn't want me to trade it in after a week either.
Is there a timeline of when the first playable stuff will come out, and then when the end?
There's a release date for it. I don't have it handy. I wanted to say it was like
I don't think they have a timeline for the entire game completion though. It's literally like they're gonna release content for it until they're out of content or out of money for that specific
whenever
title.
They run out.
I don't mean like run themselves broke, but I mean like they probably have a lot of amount of cash, and depending on how well it sells, they're gonna work with whatever.
This could be great, but it has the potential of being just one clusterfuck too. So we'll see. I am cautiously
regardless, it's going to be better than Evolve.
Oh God, yes.
The game that just announced its second season pass.
Really?
How long has it been out?
I didn't know that. It hasn't even been out for 6 months.
Evolve has a second season pass.
Jesus Christ, Evolve.
We're a $60 game that's going to keep nickel and diming you with microtransactions and DLC and bullshit. That's why I haven't.
Evolve.
Bullshit.
If you're listening, and I know you are, no.
So, E3 is a showcase for a lot of big games. A lot of big,
really? You're bringing that up now?
Flashy stuff. Yeah. But some things happen, and some stuff gets shown off that fall between the cracks, and I kind of want to take a closer look at a couple of them. One of them was
I know
announced.
Exactly why you're going to talk about the next thing.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Yeah. Okay, you remember how excited you guys were when you saw the trailer for the Final Fantasy VII remake?
Yes.
Do you remember just how excited you were?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what happened after that?
Devolver
Shenmue.
Digital Scissor Reel.
Devolver Digital Sizzle Reel happened after that. And I feel really bad for them.
Some people are asking yourself, who's Devolver Digital? Exactly.
Devolver Digital has made a lot of fantastic games and one really shitty one, or at least published them.
They're what we call the opposite of Paul W.S. Anderson.
But one of the games they showed on yourself, where they showed Mother Russia Bleeds, which looks like a fucking violent as hell 4-player beat 'em up. They showed more Ronin, which is in early access right now on Steam. It looks fantastic. Awesome. They showed what was the third game they showed? Eater or whatever it is. That looks good.
I do want to say this.
I'm really excited for Eater, just so you guys know. That game looks great.
I've never even seen gameplay of Mother Russia Bleeds, but I'm buying that game.
Just on the name alone.
You got me.
Right?
The one that caught my eye the most was a game called Crossing Souls. And it, as you can see when taking it down below, I thought it looked like an American version of Earthbound. It takes place in the 80s with a bunch of childhood friends who get the ability to talk to the dead. It's supposed to be an action RPG with some pop culture things thrown in, and I'm super excited for it. I mean, they have these animation cutscenes in here that reminds me of watching like the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon in the 80s or even the real Ghostbusters, and I can't get over how entertained I am by this concept.
It looks great. Like,
yeah,
it's super retro, but we were talking about that. There's a big market for this kind of stuff. But the things that I really caught is the fact that it's set in the 80s. I think it's like 86, right? I think that's
summer of
86.
And it's great because from what I was reading with some of the information they released, is the entire thing is like an homage to shit that happened in the 80s and a lot of 90s stuff. So there's just tons of references, tons of just nonsense, and since that's me and Sean's entire life is referencing shit from the 80s, I'm pretty sure we're gonna dig this game.
You know what this is? This is Ready Player One, the video game.
It very well could be. Only set in the 80s instead of a futuristic society.
That's based on the 80s.
But yeah, they had a Kickstarter, it was successful, and then Devolver Digital picked it up to produce it. Now, why them talking about Kickstarter is kind of important is because there was another game we were talking about 6 weeks to 2 months ago called Star Mazer.
Oh, dude, Star Mazer.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't seen Star Mazer, it is
game.
It's a shmup crossed with a point-and-click adventure set like in an 80s anime, think Macross style universe.
It's Johnny Bravo meets Bucky Rogers.
Yeah, they announced a crossover with Crossing Souls,
which is just
pretty cool.
2 games that aren't even out yet, mounting a crossover is just awesome to me.
I really want to see it. I am charmed by the concept of Crossing Souls. I'm really looking forward to it. I wish I had more information to share with you guys on it. We'll get some soon, hopefully.
And the next logical video game step for them to do for like a crossover would be like Crossing Souls, Star Mazer, meets Battletoads.
just keep the train going.
And another, while we're on the topic of smaller games being shown off at E3, another game that I thought looked just fantastic was a game called Cuphead. Now, Cuphead was shown off at the Microsoft conference during their Xbox ID sizzle reel there. And if you're not familiar with Cuphead, it is this Steamboat Willie-looking 1930s cartoon 2-player platformer shooter. So things like Contra or Metal Slug, it plays like that a lot. But it has this
It doesn't look anything like that.
No, it doesn't.
It looks so great. It's kind of ridiculous.
It is. It does this 1930s, like when animation first started coming out real big. Like I said, think Steamboat Willie. And
it's all the hand-drawn animation style.
Yes. And so much shit is going on. It's just impressive that I think the studio is only 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks all hand-drawn. I'm sure it's computer assisted, but goddamn, am I excited for Cuphead.
It's frame-by-frame animation is the way it looks. As if you think of the old cartoons, there was never a still image. There was never a still image because it was drawn. Every single piece was drawn, so things would move around. Like the background shakes a little bit, and any person who was standing on screen couldn't stand completely still. They had to like kind of move around. And everything in this game has that kind of vibe where it's like it's shaking a little bit, or there's always something going on, and it's great looking.
Aesthetically, it's amazing. I haven't seen anything like it before, so I always get excited to see where they go with that when it's something that's unique.
I only have one minor gripe about this game.
What is one minor gripe about this game?
One minor gripe is that with all the talk of games being everywhere and PC and Sony and everybody getting a piece, as far as right now, I'm pretty sure this game's only on Xbox One.
Yeah, I think so too. I haven't been able to confirm that, but definitely it was shown at the Microsoft conference during the ID at Xbox bit. I'm pretty sure it's at the very least going to be exclusive to Xbox One when it first comes out. Maybe it'll see its way on
indie
PC
games
releases.
can sit on a single console.
Yes, because they're usually cheap to buy the property.
Yeah, and it's just really tough to cross-develop. I mean, especially with a really small team.
No, I agree. But yeah,
but it being on the Xbox
amazing
would make it easy to go to the PC because it's going to be Windows 10 based eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. One last thing. Go ahead.
It's just kind of funny that we're talking about all this nostalgia and retro stuff because that thing you're going to talk about.
Yeah, one last thing before we move on to new releases. David, you wanted to talk about what GameStop's doing.
Yeah, so it's really silly just because there's obviously a huge demand for retro games right now. So GameStop has decided to start selling them. Remember all those games you used to trade into GameStop when you were a kid? Like, man, I don't need this copy of Donkey Kong Country 2 anymore because I want to buy something else, so I'm going to turn it in and get my $4, and they're going to resell it for $35. Pretty sure they've been sitting on all those games for the last 20 years, 15 years.
Real quick, before we go into it, I just want to say Jinxed Wolf in chat says Game Informer lists Cuphead as Xbox One and PC.
I'm ecstatic about that. That makes me really happy. Looks like I was going to play it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, chat. Thank you, Jinx Wolf, specifically.
Back to GameStop. They're selling old games. They're selling Super Nintendo games, NES games, Dreamcast games. They're also selling old consoles. You want to buy a slim PS1, you can buy it from GameStop.
And I do.
And it's funny because if you do a little shopping on like eBay and stuff like that, for some of these games, the prices are fairly competitive. I mean, if you want to spend $90 on a copy of Chrono Trigger for Super Nintendo, you can totally do that at GameStop right now.
It's about average spend price actually for that game.
Yeah, but some of the stuff looks cheaper than normal. Like we saw what was that earlier? We saw Illusion of Gaia for what was it, $30?
That game
first
eBay's
for
was
60.
hilarious because it was like a who's who of Super Nintendo games. So it was like Illusion of Gaia, Final Fantasy 2, 4, Final Fantasy 3, 6, and then it was like what was
Barkley, Shut Up and Jam.
But like the last one was Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, dude! Power Rangers, Super Nintendo.
It's just like boom, boom, boom.
It's definitely interesting.
Super Return of the Jedi.
I'm fine with with them selling retro games, whatever. I feel for the people who run the stores who have to have a section devoted to this because GameStop shelf space is fucking compact to begin with.
You can unironically call a GameStop and ask if they have a copy of Battletoads.
Oh, and I will.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I worked at GameStop. That shit's horrible. They get a lot of unnecessary hate.
There's a chance that they have it.
So yeah, GameStop selling retro games again, or I guess retro games once more.
I don't know.
They used to sell these games before.
Well, they were never selling. They were never selling retro games, so they are finally selling retro games.
Oh yeah, they've always been selling games though.
Yeah.
Yes. Not retro stuff to figure out.
Keep in mind, we really don't know what condition you're going to be getting these in.
It does mention that all the games are used.
Yeah.
They are all pre-owned copies of these games, so
if you're a collector,
I wouldn't expect user manuals.
Emptor.
I wouldn't expect boxes. I honestly think that they're going to shrink wrap a couple of cartridges and start shipping them out.
Here's the thing, though. I'm pretty sure I can throw a Super Nintendo cartridge video game against the wall, and it still works.
Yeah, they're going to work just fine. But if you're a collector, this might not be where you want to go.
But are the save batteries dead?
I'm almost positive they would have tested that stuff out.
Never know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Return policy, bro.
GameSpot usually actually has a pretty lenient return policy on a lot of stuff. You can't like open it up, but if you bought it used and it's busted, they'll replace it almost no questions asked.
All right. So that's enough of the old stuff.
And that's enough with news. Since we're done with the old stuff, let's talk about the new stuff that's coming out this week. First off, top of the list right away is Batman Arkham Knight. This is Rocksteady's third game, and they kind of just dismiss Arkham Origins.
It is the conclusion of the Arkham trilogy, sir.
Yes. Keep in mind, they themselves say trilogy because they really do not like Origins, those guys at Rocksteady.
They didn't make it?
No, they didn't. This will be out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One in about 7 minutes. So
what does
I know what I'll be doing after this.
So what does Bebop do, video game-wise?
He raps.
Oh, okay.
All right. Have you guys seen the trailer for Arkham Knight? The PC one with GameWorks turned on?
It's so
Hold on. Let me tell you why I'm excited for this game real quick, because I forgot. The TV commercial for this game features the Ratchet by Nine Inch Nails.
That's right. You were very excited about that.
Yeah.
Arkham Knight, I've seen a bit of it already. I know a couple people who reviewed it. It's fantastic. It's getting almost near universal acclaim, except for maybe one site that gave it a 7, I think. But it's 9, 9.5s, and 10s all about. I think it's Polygon's first 10 ever, actually.
It was probably a Russian
Asylum,
site that gave it a 10 or a 7. I mean,
no, correct me if I'm wrong, but Arkham Asylum specifically, the first game of the Batman games, basically remade the third-person action game combat system.
Yes, in fact, you see that combat system aped in so much stuff right now. Most recently,
everywhere.
Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
Anything that has you jumping over, constantly getting combat. Like, it is seriously just pulled from Arkham Asylum.
They did a really good job with it.
And
which
it makes it. I was so excited when I played that game originally because you actually finally felt like Batman because I could fight forever and never take a hit. It's like, well, this is why he's a fucking badass because he just doesn't care. So I'm excited.
And you brought it up real quick. Shadow of Mordor was awesome because it takes three things from three different things that were awesome and made a great game. Like just the Assassin's Creed feel to it, the free running system, everything like that, and the open worldness, the fighting system from Batman, and it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it was solid. But yeah, Arkham Knight.
So let's talk about
looking forward to get a hold of that.
Another action game with jumping and combos.
Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition also comes out this week on PC, computers, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. I know almost nothing about it. I've played Devil May Cry 4 back when it first came out. It's all right.
It's Devil May Cry 4. It's that thing we're talking about where games happen again.
Yeah, it's all right.
A little bit more going on. Maybe it looks a little better. Devil May Cry 4. We get Devil May Cry 4 on if you're Devil May Cry.
Sure. If you like Devil May Cry and you were pankering to get back into it again, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Also
it's like games have sequels.
Yeah. Also coming out, Final Fantasy 14 Heaven's Word for PC, PS3, and PS4. This is the expansion pack to Final Fantasy 14. Had a very troubled launch, however, has pulled its ass out of the fire and is actually a very competent MMO now.
Dude, one of the best stories to any Final Fantasy game I've ever played through.
Okay, David?
Oh, I was just saying because if you remember when it first came out, it was broken and bad, and they basically rebuilt the game almost in order to get it playable and get people to like it. So, if nothing else, I mean, I'm not the biggest MMO guy. You guys know that already, but their commitment to it and their just desire to get this game successful is, I mean, go them. Cool.
Yeah, no, and they did this all out of their own budget, by the way, too. They didn't charge for the reboot. They just went, if you own it, here you go. Here's this rebooted game. Now, Sean, you said this is one of the best stories you've seen in an MMO?
Final Fantasy game.
Final Fantasy, impressive. I need to get a hold of it one day because it's dirt cheap, and I don't think is there a subscription fee to Final Fantasy 14?
Yes, but you can work around it. You can get free subscriptions for months through certain stuff. You can find ways of playing it for free.
I have heard that the ending cutscene of the base game itself is ridiculously long especially for an MMO.
It's just good. The only problem with it is it's very repetitive gameplay. Especially, and that's MMO. An MMO. I'm saying that about an MMO. It's really repetitive.
But yeah, that expansion comes out. So if you're a fan of the franchise, take a look. And you also have Tales from the Borderlands Episode 3 Catch a Ride for every fucking thing imaginable. Computer, iOS, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. I reviewed that for Game Critics. It should be going up live. I will be able to tell you my thoughts on it in about 3 minutes.
Oh. Got that
I got that embargo until 9 actually, it might be 9 a.m., so I'm going to hold off on saying anything about it.
If I was a betting man, would I bet that it sucked or that it's good?
I will talk about the first 2 episodes, whose reviews I also did for GameCritics.com. Also happens to be up on Metacritic. I'm surprised that I actually have a review on Metacritic.
Self-plugs.
The first 2 episodes were fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It's my favorite. Based on the first 2 episodes alone, and only the first 2 episodes, not the upcoming Catch a Ride, which releases tonight, which I may or may not be embargoed for. The first 2 episodes were fantastic. It's easily my favorite of the Telltale franchises, topping off even The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So we're going to assume the third one sucks.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you anything about the third one at the moment because, like I said, I don't know if my embargo is up in 2 minutes or 12 hours and 2 minutes. But
then I only have 2 minutes
you can
to
check my
pre-order
review out at GameCritics.com when it finally goes live.
I'm not gonna.
Hey, I'm a self-marketing mass media machine, son.
Shameless.
That does it for new releases, however. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the last bit of the show, which is going to deal with esports, specifically League of Legends. Now, Sean, I know... What is that?
What is what?
I'm sorry. I had some kind of noise coming through my headphones. It's like a music song. I thought it was one of you guys. There it is again.
It's just you and all your damn shameless plugs, and you're all constantly advertising things, and it's really fucking annoying. And you're always doing that, and it's really... I don't know what your problem is.
It's like all you do is do stuff to sell out, man. We sell with no sponsor.
You know, I was drawing a refreshing Coke before this show started. You know that?
Yeah.
Sean.
This is all giving me a headache. I need something for it.
We didn't talk about. We didn't. We didn't talk league news last week because E3 kind of just knocked everything back.
Yeah.
So we got roughly 2 weeks to catch up on. Sean, has anything really happened in those last 2 weeks?
Yes. As I take Advil.
Good story.
It tastes like M&M's. So the one thing I really want to talk about, sorry. As I take aspirin, one. There was an LCS team called Misfits, which involved two pros people who actually know of. One being Alex H. He was formerly of Moscow 5, aka Gamma Gaming. And another player named Crumbs, who's huge in the NA scene. He's played for Dignitas, Curse. I think that's the only two teams, actually, that were major. Formed a team called Misfits and joined the LCS Challenger scene. Basically, that's the scene that the top two teams join LCS at the end of the year. Relegation teams, stuff like that. They made it into the Challenger.
You okay there, man? Don't die. We need you alive to actually understand what all this stuff means.
He's got too much wine.
You know what it is? That's what happens when you drink Pepsi. That's why Coke is the preferred drink of GamePoints.
You're gay.
That's the preferred insult of GamePoints. Anyway, Jen.
That sucked. So they made it into the LCS Challenger scene, so now they're in like their own circuit thing for it. Big thing happened as soon as they got into it. All of these players on Twitter start wearing like red bandanas around their face and said change is coming. And then like a week after that, Alex said, "GG Misfits, it was fun while it lasted." Kind of weird because Misfits qualified for this Challenger scene, and so people are like, bullshit, like something's happening. Then Monte Cristo, a very famous personality in sports, he's a shoutcaster for OGN. Yes, indeed it is, actually. He jokes about it all the time. He changed his profile to wear the red bandana and a cowboy hat and said change is coming, and he said I'm wanted dead or alive. Like, you know, the whole like kind of cowboy feel to it. And then like if you read some of their background Twitters and stuff like that, you can tell there's change coming. And then Misfits finally changed their Twitter name to Renegades GG and branded themselves, which is a CSGO team for a Counter-Strike as well at esports. So they kind of joined forces. And then if Steven's plugging himself, I'm going to plug myself, knowing I know famous people too. So I Twittered Monte Cristo saying, if Misfits don't come out to Renegades by Sticks, I'll be upset. He favored my tweet, and then literally 30 seconds later, he said, the news is out, the jig is up, they finally found me. And announced he's now the co-owner of Renegades, a.k.a. former Misfits. So they rebranded themselves.
It's an interesting build-up for a name change, but it sounds like it's more than a name change if he actually bought a lot of stake into the company.
Well, not only that, but like he's joining this League of Legends team with very famous people in it, with like a background in League of Legends, which they will make LCS. Like I can guarantee that. Like nothing's more sure of it. And a CS:GO team, and like they're making an organization, which only a few teams have this. Like C9, TSM, and then now actually in North America, Fnatic has it in Europe, stuff like that. Navi, a few teams. But like the cool thing about this, and like I love Monte Cristo as a character in esports because he had an AMA, and if you want to like see the AMA, I'll link it on our Facebook, which we have advertised in the corner of our show. Basically, someone asked him, "So, do you want to go to Worlds?" And his response was, "Yeah, I want to go to Worlds. I want $1 billion. I also want a harem of supermodels. It's not going to happen. I own a North American team, not a Korean team. My goal is to win North America and go to Worlds and compete decently. We're going to get stopped by Korea and China. It's going to happen." But like his idea, he's a very realistic person.
He wants to go one step at a time.
Exactly. And basically, and another question was, so are you going to stop casting? And this is what I find super awesome about Monte Cristo. He's like, no, because I'm paying players out of pocket to play for me. So my salary is their salary. So I'm not going to stop my job to run this team because I'm paying for them. The team comes first, I come second. So I will do whatever it takes to do them. If they make a qualifier that I'm invited to cast in, I will not cast in it because I don't want to play favoritism. I will go and support them, but I will not work that tournament. So I really enjoy his dedication to this, and I'm glad he's finally on the owner side of it. And he actually coached CLG for a year, and he got a lot of flack for it because he couldn't actually join the house because he lives in Korea, so he did Skype calls. And he's not coaching, but he does doing a lot of management for it, which I respect. Another big thing is Renegades actually has a support player named Ramilia, and she's a transgender person that gets a lot of flack. And another question was, well, if you make LCS, is she gonna be able to play? And he's like, why the fuck wouldn't she be able to play? Like, I'm tired of the situation. She's a person. She's gonna play the fucking game. This isn't fucking Southeast Asia.
That is fucking stupid too. You can't even use the whole like it's not like League of Legends divided into gender specific brackets. No. It's not like the NFL and is there a women's pro league or the NBA and WNBA for example? WNBA. It's not like that where you can kind of have some wiggle room to have that argument with. Not something I want to get into, but at least you can kind of make that. It's all fucking one competitive thing. Who gives a flying fuck? Are they good at the game?
Yeah, and she's really fucking good at the game, by the way.
Then there you go. Fucking let her beat face and do
dumpster
stuff.
Kids.
Yeah, I can't even
shit on kids.
That just shows my knowledge of League of Legends. I can't even think
body
of
people, throw them in the dumpster.
We forgot to say shit on kids, and that's like a requirement. Every League of Legends talk, someone has to shit on somebody.
No,
not true. I've actually stopped saying that because he called me out on it, and I stopped doing it about like in week 2.
There was that one day when he said it like 10 times, and I was like, okay, we gotta stop.
Well, I'm bringing.
Anyways, Renegades are actually like shitting on people in the NA Challenger scene. Like it's just happening.
Real quick before we move on, what was the transgendered lady's name?
Her in-game name is Ramilia.
Ramilia. And what position does she play?
She plays support.
Support. Okay. I just wanted to get that established in case anyone wanted to look up to her or look her up or look up to her, because honestly, that in itself is somewhat newsworthy. We don't necessarily get into the social issues on GamePoints here, but I'd like to go ahead and bring it up anyways. If you want to look her up, give her some support. Her name is
Ramilia.
She plays
support
for
Renegades.
There you go.
They finally found me.
What else do you want to bring up, Sean? Is there anything else in esports news? I know it's been 2 weeks, but I also know not too much is going on right now.
Just North America is a joke. Fnatic.
Oh, I've been saying that for 20 years.
Looks. We miss you, Reagan. Fnatic actually looks like a world beater, like a qualifying team that can actually beat China and Korea in a tournament. Like they actually look damn good, and they proved themselves in MSI. So like I'm actually confident in saying that and putting money on it. Korea as a region is coming back together. Like they lost everyone. Like they can just count talent. SKT 1K. By far the best team in the world again. It only took Faker 4 months to get his team back together from not making it to Season 4 Worlds. China back to being the circus that is League of Legends.
Fair enough. I think that wraps up esports news, it sounds like. Sean, David, do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up the show tonight?
Not really. Unicorns of Love are average. You finally got your way.
Sean, anything you want to throw in there before we wrap it up?
Happy birthday, Oliwashi.
Indeed. Well, that has been Game Points. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching us live on Twitch TV at... Let's start that over again because I can't...
Just end it. Fade to black.
Fade to black. This has been Game Points. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching us live on Twitch, thanks for joining the conversation. We try to get to it whenever we can. If you're watching us on YouTube, you feel free to leave a comment down below and give us a like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff that you can do on YouTube. You can follow us at Facebook. Just type in Game Points. We pop right up there. Give us a like on that as well. You can follow us on Twitter at GamePointsPC. You can email us at GamePointsPC@gmail.com if you have any news, tips, hints, chat, topics you want to bring up or what have you. Go ahead and email us there. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. I am your host, David Brown. You can follow me at CapitalistPig21. Down over on there is David Smith. You can follow him at PalsLifeSatori. He's not going to do anything on Twitter. It's just there as a formality. And across from him is our esports guy, specifically League of Legends, Sean Brown. You can follow him at @Disco_King. You can also watch him stream occasionally at that same name, just no underscore in there on Twitch. Once again, thanks for joining us. This has been Game Points. We stream live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Pacific Standard Time on Twitch TV / GamePoints. And that's been it. We are out of here. Thanks for joining us.